All right, we got a Wilkins 350. Maybe an XL. This is a 1-inch double check Wilkins 350. It says 175 psi at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Double check valve. It would normally have a second ball valve without a test port on the end. So the test port, if you haven't seen my ball valve video, check it out. The test port is just a ball valve that has a screwdriver slot in it. We won't need to take any of them really out for any matter of fact. There's 4 on double checks and there are 4 on RPZs for testing procedures and processes. I guess of that. Same thing, there would be another ball valve on the side. This just lets you isolate the valve for testing, repair, to shut it off. If you're shutting off a certain supply to something. Double checks are considered low hazard back pressure. So that could include something like boilers with no additives. Something like water tanks that are storage that aren't used for chemical mixing of chemicals. You'd need an RPZ. RPZ is going to differ a little bit from the check valve because it's going to have a vent on the bottom. So the check valve, I just took the four screws out of the top here. There's a little pry tab on the side to get that started. Never taken one of these 350s apart, but once you know what a double check does and what's happening. So as you can see, there's an arrow on the top and there's an arrow on the body which way it goes, so you can't put it in reverse. Arrow on the body there, flowing this way. So double checks, he's holding some water, allow water to pass through one way. That's a check valve. There will be a second check valve in there, so it's holding water. I don't know if I can get this out. Maybe this turns out this way, maybe. Maybe it's threaded. Maybe it just pulls or pushes. Don't see that actually gaining. We're gonna have to cut it. You see there's a rubber O-ring there that seats against the brass body. There's an O-ring on this side as well. And pop the O-rings out. And those are just sealing up. Large O-ring on one side. They'll probably give you these with a kit, or some kits will include them. O-rings wear out, crack, or dry out. So that's the inside. Come on. I don't think the test ports hold them open, but we'll take that off to just be sure. So double check valve means there's actually one check that you can see. There's actually 2 checks. You can see the first check there, rubber seal. I wonder if this isn't a whole replacement part itself. Should make it easy for repair and just pop in a whole new cartridge. Apollo does that with their backflows. They just all come in one cartridge kind of deal to replace. There we go. We got some movement on that. See if I can get it out without breaking it. Thread needle nose pliers. Oh, there we go. So it is just a cartridge. Cartridge riding. There again is another O-ring around the outside right here. Same thing. a rubber seal on the end and a spring. The first check will be over 5 pounds. The second check will be over 1 pound per square inch. You'll see a reduction of probably anywhere from like 15 pounds in some assemblies down to the minimum 6 pounds. You'll at least see 6 or 7. It's got to pop out this way. No, pulls out that end. Maybe that's one check. Sometimes you can clean them and such. You'll see the other hole where you're testing. That's going to be past the second check. That's past the first check. And that's actually before. So you can measure before the first check, after the second check, before, or after the first check, before the second check, after the second check. And it allows you to check the differential. And it'll say what the pressure difference between these two chambers are. It will say if this is 35 and this is 34, then you have your minimum 1 pound needed for the second check in the test. Or if it fails, you know, this is 35 and this is 35, you know there's something blocking it, stuck. The problem is with the second check. Check valves don't have the relief vent to dump out the bottom, but I wish I could get this one out. Doesn't look like there's a seam there. It doesn't almost. Oh, it does push out that way. So this check body, pretty much the same as that. Another rubber gasket around it. They actually are different because they stack up like this. So you can't mistakenly put in one check. There's a little ridge in there, so you can't put in the second check out of order, basically. And this zurn is labeled check number 1 in. Let's put her back together. So simply side, and you didn't have to take the test ports out, but I did. You simply side in the check 1, the check 2. You want to lube these up with your there's a grease, a food safe grease, because it's of course going to be serving potable water next to it. So want to get that rubber ring in there, not deformed. Push it in. Make sure the arrow lines up with the direction of flow on the body. Put that in there. Oh, I forgot the O-rings. So, I mean, if you replace the O-rings in the body, they're pretty simple. That's why it just slipped in there pretty easily. You want to lube them up. Stops them from tearing and such, but O-rings will just flip in the seat and you just push them in. There it goes a little bit more. Probably with plastic, I wouldn't recommend putting them in with a drill, since this isn't actually a functioning assembly with this scrap metal. I'm just going to put it together with the drill. 4 speed. There's of course another test port valve there. You need Teflon tape any threads. But that's the double check assembly. For all of you that want to know how this 350 double check assembly goes in and out, it's pretty simple. Took a little long because I had to figure it out, but that one's probably one of the most simpler ones to do. Thanks for watching.